Hello, beautiful people of YouTube. Welcome back. So this week, I just want to talk about those moments in life where you are in a situation and you come out on the other side and you just realize, especially being like a believer, being a Christian, that God was standing there all along, and now he's, standing there with you, and he's like, you thought that that's what was going to happen, or you thought that that was how that situation was going to play out, but it was not at all what you thought or expected. And usually that is for the better. So, I'm saying, being a Christian and being a believer, so many of us, and I'll be the first one to put myself out there and admit it, think like we can know and discern like, oh, this is from God, like this opportunity came about, and like, wow, this just like is such a blessing, this has to be from him, like thank you. And you're all gung-ho and like in it, and then some things trickle down along the way and you're like, oh, like maybe I misinterpreted this, maybe this wasn't quite from God. And that takes a lot of humility to admit. Being human, we have a prideful heart, and I'm no different. So for me to admit that I did misinterpret and misread a situation is hard, but I think it's really necessary to reflect on those moments and admit when you maybe did see things in the wrong light. Okay, so before I get into this more, and excuse my language in the next sentence, but I really have no better or other way to say this other than God has saved my ass so many times. Like I'm not just talking about, if you believe in, Jesus being like your salvation. I'm not talking about like that type of save. Like he already didn't have to do that. Okay. So like he didn't just save me in that sense, but then also so many bullets have been dodged, and he has saved my butt so many times in life, just coming through and saving me from myself, my own like indecisiveness or my sinful nature, whatever it is, saving me from myself, saving me from others. He really has just stepped in, and I think that's like the beauty of this is like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, and that's scary, but also it is comforting to know who's ultimately in control, and that's not me. So as many times as I mess up and I fall off that like beaten path, he's kind of gonna redirect and guide me back onto it when I go off and stumble on my own. But yeah, he has really saved my butt a lot of times. So I'm mainly talking about this because recently in my life an opportunity came about, and it just, the way that things happen and the timing of it, I was just like, oh my gosh, what a blessing. Like I said in the intro, like this has to be from God. Like there's no other like way that this could be anything else. And it really, again, it takes me a lot of humility to say this, because I do want to be prideful and be like, I know when this is God and I know when this isn't, and I know what's from him and I know what's not. And honestly, the situation has showed me, because I obviously jumped the gun and I misinterpreted, and this opportunity was not necessarily from him, but it showed me that I'm not as in tune with him as I would like to think or admit, because I feel like when you know someone, like when you really know someone, misunderstandings are gonna happen. Like that's just part of life. But when you are, in a deep relationship with someone, typically you know them, and you know them well enough to discern their character, and when like they would say something or they wouldn't say something. And so this situation, like I'm glad that it happened the way it did. I'm glad that God kind of sent me some signs before anything too crazy went down, but it really just shows you that maybe you don't know as well as you thought you did what he has for you. And this is like the beauty of being in this like relationship with him, is because he does not leave you with nothing. So it's not just like he came and he was like, hey, like, whoa, like, this is not what I have for you. Like, that's not where I wanted you to go, or like what I wanted you to do. He comes in with something else. I kid you guys not, like the same day that I had to say no to one thing, something else was presented to me, literally in the same hour, actually. And that to me is just him saying like, hey, like, I didn't want you to go there. Like, don't make the wrong decision here. Let me bless you with where I need you to be, where I need you to go. And so I don't think that, you know, as believers or as Christians, like, we should beat ourselves up so much over the fact of when you have so earnestly been like desiring something and praying about it, and, you know, wanting it. Like, he knows what you need, but he also knows what you want, and he knows the desires of your heart. So I don't think we should be so quick to like get down on ourselves when an opportunity does come up, that looks and is presented as an answer to a prayer, and maybe it just isn't. Maybe that particular thing, that particular person, whatever it may be, is just, it's not it. And I think we can, especially when we've been waiting for so long for something, we are just so quick at the first sign of like something being presented, we're like, oh, this has to be from God. Like, it's finally answering my prayer. It's only been 3 years, or, you know, something like that. But it doesn't always mean that the first thing that comes up is what he wants for you. And it usually and sometimes isn't the best thing he has for you. So it might be worth waiting even longer for the thing that he really has in store for you. But I think we can all take this as a lesson in, you know, really seeking God before you make any decisions. Like, really asking him and like evaluating the situation, asking yourself, like, where is this blessing really coming from? Is that really something that you should be taking? And I feel like this gets misconstrued a lot because people will be like, oh, God told me to do it, or God sent me, or like I heard him say to say yes, or something like that. And I don't think for a lot of us that that's really how it goes down. It's usually more of like a gut feeling. Usually like your gut and your conscious, those are like the worldly terms, I would say, for what as believers we think is God. So I think that you can kind of know very quickly if something is or isn't from him. And you know, either way, it doesn't mean that things are going to go bad if it wasn't from him, and that doesn't mean that things are always going to go super smooth and good if they were from him. But I think we usually can tell in due time, like if an opportunity or something that presented itself was an answered prayer, or maybe it was just actual life that came about and we, you know, jumped at that opportunity. But I think, like I said, I'm preaching to myself more than anyone. This is like a lesson that we do need to spend time with him in order to know him, and then in order to know what he does desire for us and how he sometimes does go about answering our prayers. So I think being intentional in that relationship and knowing him is really crucial. And the last thing I kind of want to touch on, and this isn't even like faith-based, is just when something like that happens where you were so excited for something, you like took the opportunity and you're like, yeah, like all gung-ho, and then it doesn't work out the way you thought it was going to, then the next time an opportunity like that presents itself, you're kind of left sitting there like, I want to get excited, but I've been burned before kind of thing. It's like you want to be excited for whatever is standing in front of you and whatever, you know, you think this new blessing is. And it really could be this time, but now you're like, well, wait a minute, I was wrong before. I thought that the last thing was going to go better than it did. So how do I know that that's not going to happen again? And to that I say, I don't think that's like totally normal. I feel like I'm not the only one that's been in that boat. I'm still sitting in that boat right now where I'm like, okay, I'm really happy for this. I'm really excited for this, but wait a minute, like what if I'm wrong again? And I think that that's just life. I think that is just life being trial and error, and then, you know, if something's not meant to work out, then it won't, and if it is, then it will go, you know, how you anticipate it going. But yeah, I think like just take comfort in knowing that if you're in that situation where you're excited for something, but it's hard to actually be excited because in the back of your mind you're doubting if this is really something you should be going for and going after, I would say that's completely normal, and I wish I could give advice on how better to deal with that, but I'm dealing with it myself. But just know like you're not alone in feeling that. All right, y'all, so in typical vlog fashion, I'm going to end today with just a really simple quote. This came from the book of Exodus. I actually got this from a sermon series that my pastor Noah Nickel just did, called Finding Freedom. This was in the last part of the series, part 10. And in Exodus, you know, Moses is, you know, being called on by God to set the Israelites free and everything. So in the scripture, he says, I don't want to go anywhere without your presence. Like talking to God, he was pretty much like, God, if your presence isn't there, I don't want to be there. And I think that that's a really applicable way to look at a lot of things in our lives and to evaluate our situations and just say like, okay, is God gonna be there? If so, like I want to go with him, and if not, like maybe I should not be there. So yeah, with that being said, I encourage you guys, if you have not already, to subscribe to my channel. The button is right below this screen. Make sure to, I haven't really been saying this, but make sure you like my videos, guys. If you like this content, let me know with a thumbs up. Also, comments are always appreciated, anything and everything. Make sure you put it below. I want to hear back from you guys. Any suggestions of things you want me to talk about, anything to do with this video in particular, let me know. I want to hear from you. And as always, popping up on my screen right now, make sure to follow me if you don't already, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, to follow along with what is happening in my life. And with that being said, I hope you guys have great weeks, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.